So this is a part two to my last video about things is not so superficial, right? We was talking about David Ellison and how he was making this $8 billion transaction, but the whole his whole existence is to show the symbolism that they are creating. I know how he was explaining about how he bought Paramount Skydance, at the age of 42 and whatnot. Yeah, but first I want to go a little bit deeper into the areas where he grew up, his schools that he came from, right? So if you look on Google or whatnot, right, and you search up the schools he came from, or rather, he studied in the University of Southern California, right, which is near Los Angeles, the home of the fallen angels, or whatnot. So that's another clue to how he was appointed this position. But also, right, he we have to look up the longitude and latitude of these places, right? It's on ley lines of very high energetic point. And most of these places and universities are near waters or land that's very preserved and it's rich in energy. But, right, we're going to look at the coordinates of Southern California. We know it's close to Los Angeles, the home with the fallen angels and whatnot. But when we search up the coordinates, and I'm going to show y'all a picture, don't worry. I'm going to make sure y'all understand this closely. But the degrees is 34 north, 118 west. That 34, right, is close to the 33rd parallel, right? Or rather, it shows that it's close to this type of parallel. But within this Catholic school, right, the coordinates of these points show you 37 north, 122 west. When you divide the 122 and the 37, you're going to get something like 3.29, right? But you have to round it up a little bit, right? And you get 3.3, another 33rd parallel. Not to mention the fact this place is also close to the waters as well. I'm always mentioning the waters because the water holds memory. It holds remembrance. It holds energies that if you were to go in certain places, right, you will feel some type of serenity, some type of remembrance that's dwelling within inside you. You know how they always mention how the water represents your emotions and the flow of everything, right? So that's just one way to see it and put it at. But as we continue on with this, right, we're going to move on to the gematria of his name, David Ellison. And I'm going to show you a picture right up there somewhere. But you're going to get his reduction, 54, reverse, 198, reverse reduction, 72, and ordinal, 126. Now, I'm going to just focus on the reduction, the reverse reduction, and the ordinal. But first, we're going to talk about the 126, right? So, the 126 in Gematria represents the feminine life force in Kabbalist tradition, right? It's the holy name, right? The backside holy name of Adonai. And it's also linked to 120 years of Sarah's life. You know how they're adding the 7 in whatever they do, right? They love to downplay the 6 because 7 is their divine number, is their complete number, even though 6 represents the matriarch, right? But besides that, right, beyond that in biblical text, right, 126 is associated with the word appointed. Appointed, right? Almost because he was appointed this position. And when I'm talking about the biblical reference, right, we're not talking about the Kabbalah, but rather we're talking about the King James Bible. The word appointed has been said inside of this Bible 126 times and is often signifying divine appointment or designated timing. We're going to look at the 72, right, and it can get a bit confusing, but we know how they love using negative notations to represent what they're doing, but they're also putting symbolism within it, right? So moving on to 72, right? 72 in the Kabbalists, right? They believe that 72 triplets, right, is considered names or vibration of God that acts as the Kabbalist key, right? So they're doing rituals and praying to it and able to achieve divine energy, protection, and transformation. Now, there's so much you could say with 72, right, and learn about, but y'all just have to dig deep into that yourself. I can't say everything, right, because it's way too much. But in connection to what I'm saying right now, 72 basically represents the formula of creation and manifestation of divine names into the 72,000 energetic channel within the universe or the body, which is he's representing. He's trying to get these energies and able to continue on their work or whatnot, and they're letting you know through symbolism. When I say he, right, I mean a person who is putting us in this type of position that we're in right now. They're using these individuals as channels, again, to show the symbolism of what's to come or what is happening, right, and what they're doing. But now we're going to focus and divert to 54. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit more like, oh, mind-blowing, right? So 54 in gematria, right, represents a judge, right? And it refers to one of the tribes of Israel. You know, the 13 bloodline, the 13 tribes and all that. So now you have to think, is this person in one of those tribes? And which, if so, which tribes? Is this tribe called the Ellisons? Are they the families that they're talking about or a part of? You have to ask these questions. But in short, right, the 54 in gematria represents judgment, right? The power of judgment, which then transfers into protection. So the way I'm seeing that is that he's protected, right? But also the same way is that he's also going to be the one to be judged, right? When the moment arrives, he will be one of those ones that's judged heavily. Now, finally, right, we look at all the numbers within his name, and we reduce all of it to its simplest form, right? The 54, which reduces to 9, right? The 72, when you add up the 2, right? 7 and 2, you get 9. The 126, when you add up 1 plus 2 plus 6, you get 9. The 198, when you add up 1 and 9, you get 10. And then the 10 plus 8 is what? 18. Reduce 1 and add the 1 and 8, you get 9 again. All across the board, you're going to see 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. 9 in numerology is it's the divine number. It's a sacred number too. Again, symbolism, right? It's a way to communicate and let others know that their time is done. 9 represents the ending of major cycles and new beginning, to let go of the old, to bring in the new. That is another way to interpret what the 9 represents. It's universal love. It represents oneness, unity, and that is what is to come. Not to mention the fact that the 9 also is ruled by Mars, which signifies high energies, right? Willpower, courage. It signifies the ability to overcome, right? It's that warrior energy from within, that determination, and that's what we need during these times right now. You need to become authentic to yourself, family. You need to keep on raising up your energy. Show no fear. Become authentically yourself to raise up the frequency within your space and your environment. Once you figure out your own self, you remember, oh, this is what I like to do. This is what I represent. You're building that community. You're building that unity. You're building that point, that job that you're supposed to be doing within the universe. And you're raising it up to help out one another, to also woke you up. So you could either be that support, right? You could be that warrior on the front lines. You could be that intellect that gives the information out. Family, this is not a game, but you have to see that it's good or righteous versus evil. And right now, the evil is doing all they can because it's the end games. They can't do no more. Be authentically yourself. Know the you that wants to become. Be the you that wants to show the world and also show your own self that this is who I am, what I represent. But with that being said, family, I love you all vibrating high and continue vibrating high. So peace and Ashe.